everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make the single Dressy Diamonds bracelet. Now this is a pattern that I designed years ago and I put on my Gina's Gem Creations channel. However, I had made it double and I had put a embellishment of crystals down the middle. I've simplified it to just one strand for this channel, and I used the treasure bag Pentagon beads, and it really dressed it up and made it really pretty as a single strand simple bracelet that you can do. Now, if you don't have the treasure bags, don't fret. I go through other options, and also you can get these beads on my website in all different colors. I have a bunch of colors. This is just a couple samples. I have translucents and opaques, and you can get those so you can do this. And we'll discuss that further in the next segment, so you'll want to listen to that and see what you can use, because I don't want you to feel like because you don't have the treasure bag you can't do this bracelet, because you can. And color options are endless with this. I used a frosted seed bead in this, but this would be beautiful in all silver or silver and gold, or black and silver, or whatever you would like. You can change the feel and the color tone very easy by changing your seed beads. So this is what we're going to make today, and let's go ahead and see what it takes to make this project and get started. Okay, for this tutorial today, I will be using a strand of beads that is in the Shiny New Year treasure bag. However, I also have these beads on my website in a bunch of different colors, and I'll show you that in a minute. But so you can do this bracelet. These are the 5 by 5 by 5 round Pentagon faceted beads that are in your treasure bag. And you could also use a 6mm round bead. That will work just fine also. So you could use a pearl, or you could a glass pearl, or a drook, or something like that. Even a round fire polish 6mm you should be able to use for this particular design if you cannot get these beads. These beads just bring it up to another level because of the faceting and the sparkle. So this can be done, this tutorial can be done without the treasure bag. I have lots of colors on my website. They're nice long strands. This is a translucent sky blue. This is an opaque purple iris or something like that. And there's lots of colors, and they're all gorgeous. So if you want to get some of these, you can, and I'll put a link below. So don't feel like you cannot do this tutorial if you don't have the treasure bag, because you certainly can. Then from the treasure bag, we'll be using one of the clasps. You can, of course, use any clasp you want. We're going to add to the treasure box 2 8/0 seed beads. So I have nickel plate, and I'm just going to use 2 8/0s for the clasping area because you can travel through it more. You can also use an 11/0 if you'd like, but I am going to use 2 8/0s, and I am going to use some 15/0s in the nickel plate. So I've got 2 8/0s in the nickel plate, and then 15/0s, and these are Toho nickel plate. Then I've got an 11/0 seed bead. This is also Toho, and this is frosted sugar plum. And all of this stuff is on my website if you want to get it. It's up to you. And then we will be using, I'm using a size 12 beading needle. A 10 will probably work as long as you can pass through your 15/0 seed beads well. So I've got a size 12 beading needle, and I'm going to use 8-pound Fireline simply because I have it in the smoke, and I want to use the smoke color today because my beads are dark. These beads that you got in the treasure bag, make sure you wash them, wipe them off gently. They are really dirty, and I could not even see the sparkle on mine very well until I just gently washed them with warm water, a tiny bit of dish soap, and then dried them with a microfiber cloth. You can just use a tea towel too. But make sure you do that and kind of wipe them, and then the sparkle really comes out nice. the ones on my website, you can see how much sparklier they are. I think in having my beads handled for my treasure bag, I think they get a little bit beat up and dirty from being handled so much because I have them separate strands or put them in bags and things like that. And even the little bags are really dirty. So just make sure you clean them, and that will bring back up the sparkle. The ones you get from my website, they are cleaner because they haven't been handled as much. So let's go ahead and put onto our beading needle about a wingspan of thread. You will probably need to extend or tie on your Fireline during this project. I will leave a link for a video to do that if you do not know how. A wingspan is when you stretch your arms out from side to side like you're going to fly away. Measure from the fingertips of your first arm, the length of that arm, across your chest, the length of the second arm to your fingertips. Put that length on your needle and we will get started. Okay, to start this project, you're going to pick up one of your round pentagon shaped beads or a 6mm round, whatever you're using. And then you're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and then another of your round pentagon shaped beads, and then 3 11-0 seed beads, another round, 3 11-0s, and another round, and 3 11-0s. And this is what you should have. Let me get my camera rearranged here so I actually have some room to work. So you're going to have 4 of the pentagon or round beads onto your thread divided by 11-0 seed beads. So you'll start with the pentagon bead and you'll end with your series of 3 11-0 seed beads. And then you're just going to bring this down to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but you want enough so that your beads don't slide. Hold on to the tail and the first bead and come up through the first bead with your needle. Pull them down like this, and this is what you should have. Now we're going to sew back through the whole thing. It's going to slip around and loosen. Just hold on to your tail with your fingers and just start sewing around them. This beginning of this unit is kind of floppy, so just hang on to it the best you can and just go through all the beads until you get to where your tail thread and your working thread meet. So I need to go through these 3 here, and then we're just going to tie a knot with the tail thread and the working thread. So I'm just going to, you can pull a little bit more through if you need to, and I'm just going to tie a knot. Just a little overhand knot, pull it down between the beads. Pull some tension there, but don't pull it so tight that you can't get between your beads again. But you don't want any slack either. So I've put 2 little tiny knots between my beads here, just like this. And now I am coming out, of course, where my knot is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew up through these 3 11-0 seed beads, just get away from my knot a little bit, go into my first pentagon shaped bead here, and through 2 11-0s. So if you can't do it in one stroke, that's fine, but you want to exit in the middle of the set of 3 11-0s. Just like this. And then you want to pull your needle through. So I'm coming out of this middle seed bead right here. Now I'm going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Now you can see, let's get you even closer. You can see I am coming out of this bead in this direction. And you don't want to cross over and go over the bead this way. You want to go in the direction your thread is coming out of. That's very important. Your unit will not sit right if you cross over and go the opposite direction. So I'm coming out this way. I'm going to go over to this set of 3 11-0s, and I'm going to go through the middle 11-0. So just kind of go at an angle, go into just that middle seed bead, and pull. Then push this down over your bead into the center of the circle, just like that. And then pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s. Again, you're coming out this direction, and now that you've done this, you probably won't go the wrong direction, but we're coming out this direction, so we know we want to go to this middle strand of 11-0s, and we're going to go into the middle bead, and just the middle bead. And sometimes on this first unit, you just kind of have to, it's pulled a little tight from your knot. So just go at an angle, pull your beads or your thread through, and pop this down. Let me back off just a little. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s. And we're going to go over this pentagon bead into the the second or the middle 11-0 seed bead in the next section of 3. Pull. And this is what you should have so far. Now we're going to put our last one on, and we're going to go into the bead we started in. So we're going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and an 11-0, and 3 15-0s. Like this. We're going to skip over this pentagon bead and go into this middle bead right here. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 behind it, just like this. Pull this down. And to set my middle embellishment here, I just finished the little nets that I made. I'm going to go into this pentagon bead here. So I'm coming out of this 11-0. I went into both of them on this side here. I'm going to go into this pentagon bead. And if you can get them both, go through the 2 11-0s behind it. If not, just go out and then go back in. Our goal is to exit the center 11-0 in the next section here. That ensures that our middle nets here are nice and secure. Now we're coming out right here on this little 11-0. Let me get you close. We're coming out of this side of the bead. We're going to go up into the 15-0 seed beads right above where our thread is coming out. So we'll go into these 3 and the 11-0 and exit. Back off again. Pull your thread through. Just like that. Now, we have 4 11-0 seed beads in the center here. We're going to connect them together, and that will draw the unit together. So we're coming out of this 11-0 here. We're going to go just into the next 11-0. And we're going to pull our needle through. And then we'll go into the next 11-0 again. If you'd like to, you can take a couple at a time, but I'm just going to do one at a time so it's not confusing. So now I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. Let me get in camera a little better here. Let me get you close so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. And I actually got a 15-0 too, and you do not want to do that. So if you do that, back out. And just pick up the next 11-0. I know I'm kind of fumbly here with the first one, and I'm always a little fumbly. I'll show you all this again in the second unit too. So we're just going into each 11-0 seed bead, and then I'm coming out of this one. So I've done 3 so far. Now I'm going to go into this one here, and I'm going to pull my thread through and draw all 4 of those little beads together. Just to make sure that it's nice and secure, I'm going to sew through all 4 of those one more time. So I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go into this one. You can go into the one behind it too if you would like. Get my tail out of there. Then I'm going to go into the next 11-0 and the one behind it. Hold on to my unit and pull, and then go back into this one. So now I am completely secure. I've drawn all the beads in the middle together, and now I need to get up to the top, and we'll make our clasping, and then we'll sew back around and make our next unit. So I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead right here. You can see my thread coming out. There's 3 15-0s right above it. I'm going to go into those 3 15-0s right above where my thread is coming out, right here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go into this 11-0 above the 15-0s, the 11-0 that the 15-0s are connected to. So you don't want to just hop into that Pentagon bead. You want to go into that 11-0 because that's the thread path right there, and then into just the Pentagon bead, avoiding the 11-0 on the other side. Let's see if I can get past that. My needle is grabbing that 11-0. There we go. So I have come out of this 11-0 into the Pentagon and exited. Now I'm going to cut this little tail down, just get it out of my way. I'm going to take a flame, the lighter, just get it close towards the bottom of my flame, just get it close and melt that little piece in. Like that. Get it out of my way. Make sure it doesn't go inside your Pentagon bead, just melt it down enough to where it's out of the way. Boy, I'm really fumbly today. I really apologize. Now we're going to put on our clasping here, and then we'll move over this way and make our next unit. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0, just like this. You back off just a little. I'm going to put that down, drop these down to my unit, like that. Then I'm going to pick up my clasp, and I'm going to go through the loop of my clasp. And drop it down to my 8-0. Then I'm just going to go into the 8-0 seed bead and only the 8-0 right here. I'm going to pick it up, hold that 8-0, hold those 11-0s and my unit, and I'm going to pull my thread through gently until I can guide my clasping up to that 8-0 seed bead like this. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the Pentagon bead I started in. So I'm coming out over here, I'm going to go into this side and just the Pentagon bead, like this. Now sometimes those little 11-0s on either side are at an angle that it blocks you a little. You just have to fidget around till you get it through. And this is what this should look like, just like that. Then we're coming out of this little Pentagon bead. We're going to sew back through our entire clasping. So we're going to go up through these 3 11-0 seed beads on this side, into the 8-0, and back into the clasp. So I'm coming out of the clasp loop. I'm going to go around the clasp loop, into the 8-0, and down these 3 11-0s here. I'm going to hold on to it, pull my thread through, and then I'm going to go back through this Pentagon bead right here. Get that darn 11-0 on this side is really in my way. But if you push your bead up, I'm pushing it up from behind, then I can get to the hole better without grabbing those 11-0s. Now, what you want to do, let me give you a close-up of what this looks like. you want to sew back through that again exactly like I just showed you, at least one more time, and then we'll come back and continue with our next unit. Okay, so I have secured my clasping and I'm coming out of the Pentagon bead right here after securing. So what I want to do is I want to travel down the side until I can get to this bead here and exit so I can make my next unit. So I am going to go through, coming out of the Pentagon, I'm going to go through these 3 11-0 seed beads, and the way that we've done our embellishment, it draws that middle 11-0 in. So you have to make sure when you're doing this that you get all 3, and it can be a little bit fidgety because of the angles of that one being pulled in. So make sure you get all 3 of these 11-0s as you're sewing through and pull. And then go into the next Pentagon, go into the Pentagon bead, because you're coming out of these 3 here. Go into the Pentagon bead and exit. And I got an 11-0 too, and that's okay because I'm going to sew through all the 11-0s anyway. So I'm going to continue going through the 3 11-0s, and then I'm going to exit the Pentagon bead at the bottom here. Right there. So you can see I'm just pushing my beads around until I get out because they're at a little bit of a funny angle. And it's not that you can't get through the beads, you can. They're just kind of laying funny, so you have to kind of maneuver your way through. So that's what that looks like so far. That's my first unit. And now we're going to start the second unit. So we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and a Pentagon bead. Now, each unit has 4, but we're going to share this one. So we only have to pick up 3 11-0s and then 1 Pentagon, and then repeat that twice. So what you will have on your needle will be 3 Pentagon beads with 11-0s on either side. So you're going to start with 3 11-0s and then pick up your beads and alternate with 11-0s and then end with 11-0s. Just like this. Now we're going to go back through the connecting bead. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead that we're coming out of. So we're going to go into this Pentagon bead right here. And we're going to pull these beads down. Now watch this unit carefully because I was a little fumbly with the first one. This one will clarify any questions you had or anything you couldn't see. So let's go through all of these beads. So we're coming out of this Pentagon bead. Let's go through all 3 11-0s. And then the next. So just as many beads as you can pick up at a time. Just sew all the way around until you come back to your connecting bead to secure your unit and strengthen it. So I've sewn pretty much all the way around here. And then I'm going to go back into my Pentagon bead right here. Now, I'm secure and I'm ready to start my middle embellishments. So what I have to do, I'm coming out of this little Pentagon bead. Let me get you close. I'm going to go into the middle 11-0. We'll always work from the middle 11-0. So we're going to go into 2 11-0s and we're going to exit the second 11-0. Just like this. Pull it through, and then you're going to pick up 2 15-0s, or excuse me, 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0 seed beads. We're going out of this 11-0 in this direction. So we want to go over, skip over the pentagon bead and go into this one. Do not cross over and go this way. Make sure you go the direction of your thread and go into the middle 11-0. Just like that. And then pull your thread through. Push that little net you just made towards the inside, just like this. And then do the same thing again. Pick up 3 15-0s and 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Skip over the pentagon bead, go into the second 11-0 seed bead in the set of 3. So just kind of push that one up like this and go through it. Pull your thread through like this. Push your net in and then pick up 3 15-0s and 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Skip over the pentagon bead, go into the second set of 11-0s into the second bead right there. Slide through just that second bead like this and pull. Push this in. And now we need to create our last net over our connecting bead. So same thing, you're just going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Drop that down. And now we want to go into the bead we started in right here from the opposite side. So we're going to go into this side of this bead right here. And get it turned just so I can get in here. And I'm going to go into this one right here. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 behind it. Excuse me. So we're going into this one. I'm going into the 11-0 behind it. And I'm going to pull. Now my net is over that third bead. I'm coming out of these two 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to go into this pentagon bead and the two 11-0s behind it, just to secure my middle embellishments. So I'm passing through until I come to the next middle seed bead, right there. And I'm going to pull it through. Now, you can see I'm coming out of this middle 11-0 and my little 15-0s are right above it. I'm going to go into those 15-0s right above that 11-0 where I'm exiting and into the middle 11-0 past the 15-0s, just like this. And I'm just going to hold on to my unit and pull my thread through. Now, all I want to do is slide through each one of these 11-0s at the peak of each of these nets. So I'm coming out of this one in this direction. I want to make sure I go in that direction and start picking up my 11-0s. So I can pick up this 11-0 and I can pick up this 11-0, or you can just do one at a time. Now, there I had a 15-0 on there. If you get a 15-0, back out, because the 15-0s are going to distort the shape. So make sure you just get the 11-0s, and it's really easy to pick up a 15-0 too. Now I have run my thread through the first two here. Here's the one I came out of. I have to pick up my fourth one and then, or my third one, and go into my fourth again. Or my first one, however you want to look at that. So basically, I've just run my thread through all four 11-0s. I'm pulling it through. Pull your thread towards the middle, draw them together, just like this. Now, I'm coming out of this one. I'm just going to go through all four of them again, in the direction I'm coming out, of course, and draw them together tighter and secure them. Now, I'm coming out of this bead right here. This is above my Pentagon bead that I need to be into to do my next unit. So I'm going to go through this 11-0, and then I'm going to go up into these three 15-0s right above that 11-0. Let me get my needle there, and I'll just go into these three 15-0s. Make sure you get all three, just like this, and pull through. Straighten it out, give it a tiny tug, and then now that I'm coming out of these 15-0s right here, you can see that my thread, my original thread, came from this bead here. So I can't just go into the Pentagon. I have to go into this 11-0. So I'm going to go into the 11-0 right above where I'm coming out of the 15-0s, and then into the Pentagon bead, and just exit. Don't go into the 15-0 behind it, right there. And now we're ready to start another unit. So we're going to pick up 4, and I'll show you how to start, and then you can do the embellishments and everything by backing up the video and watching. So we're coming out of this one, we're going to pick up 3 11-0s and one of our rounds, 3 11-0s and around. I'm going to drop them down, 3 11-0s and around. And this is all you need as far as the rounds go, because you have one already on your unit. So you need to add 3. You need to have 3 11-0s alternating between all of them. So you're going to start with 11-0s, add your 3 with 11-0s in between them, and then end with 11-0s, just like this. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're connecting to. And then we're going to sew around all of these beads. So go into the 11-0s, the Pentagon bead, the 11-0s, just like this, all the way around. Now you can see I accidentally picked up 4 beads there. I do not want 4. So I'll show you a trick, but make sure that you're very careful when you do this. So I don't want to take my whole unit out. I'm going to grab one of these beads and I'm going to break it. I'm going to kind of go to the side a little bit, try not to crush my thread, because this is glass and it will cut your thread. Just gently squeeze it until it breaks, and then you are back to the proper number. But there again, like I said, you can weaken your thread doing that, so be very gentle doing that, and then sew back through it again, to make sure that you have a nice pass of strong thread through it. So because I'm coming this way anyway and I have to sew through again, that was an opportune time to do that. So now I'm going to go back into all of these, and I can exit this Pentagon bead right here and begin my embellishments. So go ahead and pick up your 15-0s, go into your 11-0 first, pick up your 15-0s, put on your embellishments, and continue until you have 10 units. That all, of course, depends upon the length of bracelet that you would like to have as your end result. Now, from the middle of my clasping here to the end of this unit, it is exactly 7 inches. So this is going to be a 7.5 to 8 inch bracelet, which is a little big for me. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, just to see how it ends up. Now, if you want a smaller bracelet, of course, leave off a unit or 2. A 6-inch bracelet is small, a 7-inch bracelet is medium, an 8-inch bracelet is large. So you can adjust according to how many units you make, how long your bracelet will be. Because we already have the clasping on, that gives you somewhat of an idea how much the clasping is going to add, because you can measure it on this side and know that it's going to be basically the same on this side. Of course, you're going to measure from half of your toggle here. So now I'm coming out of this last bead here on my last unit. So I've gone around and put all my embellishments on, sewed back around until I am coming out of this pentagon bead right here, just like I would be to add my next unit. And we're going to put our clasping on just like we did the other side. So I'm going to grab my other 8/0 seed bead, and I am going to pick up 3 11/0s onto my needle and this 8/0, and I'm going to drop it down like that. Then I'm going to pick up my clasping, go through it, and bring it down. Then I'm going to go back through just this 8/0 seed bead, grab onto it, pull it down like this. And I don't know if you can see how close I am there. It always looks like I'm further away in my little camera, and then I watch the video and it's like, oh my God, I'm really close. But there you go, just like that. Now pick up the 3 15/0s, or excuse me, 3 11/0s, and go through the other side of the pentagon bead from which you started, and pull through. Draw that down until you have that. Now, just like we did on the other side, sew through your clasping exactly the same way 2 more times. Be exiting this bead here, and we'll come back and tie this off. Okay, so I've sewn back through, reinforced my clasping twice, and now I'm coming out of the little pentagon bead here. Let's get a little closer, and we're going to go down into these 3 11/0 seed beads. Again, they're at funny angles, so make sure you get through all 3. And then between this pentagon bead and this 11/0, I'm just going to go between the beads, just like this. Just slide, go behind that 11/0 there, and I'm going to pull my needle through, directing my thread between those 2 needles. So I've got it balanced on this finger behind, and I'm feeling that thread go in between those 2 beads. And then as I slide it up, I can control the loop that I make, go through the loop, and pull my knot down onto the thread bridge between the beads. Now I'm going to go into the pentagon bead again and try to just exit it right here, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go between this 11/0 and this pentagon bead. I'm going to feel my thread slide between those 2 beads, draw down a loop, go through the loop, and just pull down a knot onto that thread, directing it gently as I do that, and then I will sew through the next 3 11/0s and into this pentagon bead. I will do that one more time between the beads here, drawing my knot down between them, and then I'll go up into these 3 11/0s, this pentagon bead, and then I'm just going to cut my thread off. So right here, I will just cut it off, leaving a little bit of a tag. Then I will get my lighter and get close to it and just melt that in until it sinks into that bead. And let me get my bead mat cleaned up. And this is what I have. It turned out really, really, really pretty. Now, this is going to be a little bit too big for me, I have a feeling, but I wanted to make, actually, it's not bad. I wanted to have a little movement, and I wanted to make sure that my toggle would pass through. I had enough room to pull on it because this is kind of a thick area, and this actually fits me just fine. So I'm going to measure. I didn't get a whole heck of a lot more length like I thought I was going to. I'll measure it and show you, but I want you to see how pretty this is. Now, this is a design that I actually came up with several years ago, but I made it more complicated. I had 2 rows next to each other with crystals in between those rows. So it was called Dressy Diamonds. It is on my Gina's Gem Creations channel if you would like to do that. You can certainly do that one. You can also do the earrings that match. The earrings are simpler than the bracelet because they are just single units like this bracelet. And there's a necklace that's actually pretty simple too. So I will post the links for those videos if you want to make matching pieces, because there's really no reason for me to redo it. Of course, I'm using just a 6mm round in there and not these beads, but it's still the exact same stitch. So if you want to do that, you can. Let's see how long this bracelet turned out to be. And this would be pretty. You don't have to use a colored bead around like I did. I used the muted little frosted sugar plum, but you could do it all in metal. You could do it in gold and silver. You could do it in black and silver. You could do it whatever you wanted. The choices are endless for the colors, and you can make a lot of pretty colors. So this is not quite 7.5 inches long. Really, really close. So that's perfect for me. It gives me movement, and it fits me really well. So that is what you'll end up with if you do exactly the same numbers that I have done. And that's your bracelet for today. So you can, like I said, you can get really pretty colors of these on the website if you want to, or just use a 6mm round glass pearl or something if you cannot get these beads, and make this bracelet. It's easy, it's fun, and it's really pretty. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye guys.